If the Seahawks make these simple offseason moves, we could potentially see a super team in the future, and maybe even the second coming of the Legion of Boom. And the first move I will be going over is that Seattle needs to sign back Bobby Wagner. People like to argue that he's washed, which is just not the case. He recorded 140 total tackles last year, 6 sacks, 2 interceptions, and also had a 90.7 PFF grade. He may not be as good as he once was, but that's such a high standard that I don't think anyone could have like that same level of production throughout their whole career. But besides that, there is a lot of interest between both sides to make it happen, and not only that, if this were to happen, which I really hope it does, it would absolutely make this offseason for the Seahawks that much closer to being perfect and helping them get that much closer to a Super Bowl. But for the realistic deal I could see, and mind you, would be nowhere close to a long-term deal since he's old as dirt. But yeah, the realistic deal I could see is about a 1-year $11 million deal, and that's on the high end of it. It could potentially be even as low as $7 million a year, as that's what Levante David got, and they're close to being on the same playing field. But do remember, the Seahawks only have $17 million in cap space, and a majority of that has to go to rookies, but it also could be easily increased with some reworked deals. But that brings me into my next vision of the perfect Seahawks offseason, and that is reworking some of these contracts. To start, I'd obviously rework Jamal Adams' contract, as I think I don't need any explanation why. Jamal Adams will have an $18 million cap at this upcoming season, and for someone that's rarely on the field, that's not good. I'm not too educated when it comes to reworking deals, so bear with me, but if I could see them reworking it, I could see it being about a $13 to $15 million a year contract, which hopefully should create about $4 million in cap space. But besides Jamal Adams, I'd also rework Will Dissly's and Al Woods' contracts. To start, Will Dissly just signed a new contract only last offseason, and to say it was bad would be an understatement. It was a 3-year, $24 million deal, which means if you can't do the math, that's $8 million a year for a blocking tight end that's not even on the field 100% of the time, as he shares snaps with Noah Fant. Not only that, I don't know about you, but these stats don't seem too $8 million a year type of stats to me. That's just me though, I don't know about you. He also didn't even play the full season, as he ended up missing the final 2 games of the season, which were also the most important games of the season for the Seahawks. If you couldn't tell by now, I'm really not too big at all on this contract, and Will Dissly himself, I don't understand at all why the Seahawks made the deal last offseason. It completely befuddles me. But with reworking the contract, again, I'm not too educated on reworking contracts, but I do know that they need to rework it. Someone putting up, again, these stats and share snaps should be nowhere close to making $8 million a year. I could realistically see them reworking to about a $5 million a year, which should create about $3 million in cap space. Now when it comes to Al Woods, it's not as bad, but it's still pretty bad. Al Woods will be 36, yes 36, as a defensive tackle, and that 36-year-old defensive tackle will have a $5.4 million cap hit in 2023. I don't think I really need to explain that too much on why that should not be a thing, but to sum it up, honestly, Al Woods is a very nice run stopper, but is rarely ever an all 3-down player. To cut straight to the point, the Seahawks need to rework this deal. I realistically could see it rework to about a $3.5 million cap hit, which should create about $2 million cap space to my knowledge. With the reworks all about done, the Seahawks should have around $26 million in cap space after this, and about $15 to $18 million in cap space after signing Bobby Wagner. And with that money, the Seahawks need to sign these free agents. The first free agent the Seahawks need to sign if they want to win a Super Bowl is Ben Jones. Ben Jones is obviously no doubt nearing the end of his career, as he's 33 and most likely won't be signing any long-term deals. This doesn't mean his play is dropping off at all. He's coming off a Pro Bowl season, and that's exactly what the Seahawks need. With Austin Blythe retiring, the Seahawks need anyone to play center, and Ben Jones is not only the perfect fit, but he's also just a top-tier center in general. For a potential deal being made, I could really see a $6 million a year deal being made, or also a $13 million 2-year deal being made also wouldn't surprise me. After signing Ben Jones, the Seahawks should be near the $12.5 million range. The next signing the Seahawks need to make is Isaac Seumalo. I'm just going to call him Isaac because I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name right, but that out of the way, Isaac's a very solid guard, and again is exactly what the Seahawks need. With Gabe Jackson being released and Bill Haynes really not being starter worthy, Isaac is the perfect fit. The deal I could imagine is around the same as Ben Jones, but a little bit less. I could imagine a 2-year $11 million contract being the case here. And with those 2 signings, that's about as much as the Seahawks can do with the amount of cap space they have left. They should have around $7.5 million left, and that remaining amount should go towards the Seahawks draft picks. Speaking of the draft picks, no matter what, the Seahawks really can't go wrong in the draft here thanks to the Broncos. The only thing is I'm only going over the first and second round selections for them. If you want to see a full mock draft, go watch Brent Coleman or something. But anyway, with the 5th overall pick, I have the Seattle Seahawks selecting Tyree Wilson here. I know a lot of people might think the Seahawks take Jalen Carter here, but with character concern after character concern, I don't think the Seahawks are too keen on picking him, as not only are they a heavy cultural type of team, but he also gives very big vibes of Malik McDowell. Tyree Wilson is the perfect fit, as the Seahawks Seahawks need front 7 help severely, and he'll be such a nice fit to go on the opposite side of Uchenna Nwosu. With the 20th pick in the NFL draft, I have the Seattle Seahawks either selecting Bryan Bresee or Kalaja Kancey. Both are very big needs for the Seahawks, and both are perfectly fine. You couldn't go wrong with really either. I don't really need to explain at all why the Seahawks need interior defensive linemen. The story tells itself if you watched any Seahawks game last year, especially the Raiders one, which we don't talk about around here. But nah, both Bryan Bresee or Kalaja Kancey would be perfect fits for the Seahawks here. And with the 37th pick in the NFL draft here, I have the Seattle Seahawks selecting Kelee Ringo. The Seahawks need just one more corner to pair along with Tariq Woolen, and although I think Kobe Bryant has potential to, I just don't think it will happen. But with Kelee Ringo, he fits the Seahawks scheme perfectly. He's a tall, big corner that has some burners. He's 6'2", 207 pounds, and clocked in a 4.36 40. Kelee Ringo could definitely go earlier, but I don't expect too much earlier, definitely maybe 5 picks earlier. So for that being the case, I could definitely see the Seahawks trading up a little bit to select him. And with the 51st pick in the NFL draft, I have the Seahawks selecting A.T. Perry. The Seahawks need a third receiver bad, and I think A.T. Perry will fit that role perfectly. Marquise Godwin wasn't bad for when he played, but he's getting on the older side, and D. Eskridge is about long gone now. So with A.T. Perry's big frame at 6'3.5" while also running a 4.47, he should be a big need for the Seahawks. Now with the draft over and the signings the Seahawks should make, let's go over the signings they've already made. The Seahawks have already signed the free agents known as Dre'Mont Jones, Julian Love, Devin Bush, and Jarran Reed. All I think are such good signings, and I cannot say that enough. The Seahawks hit big with Dre'Mont Jones. He was arguably a top 15 free agent coming in, and for good reason too. He posted 6.5 sacks along with 9 tackles for loss in only 13 games played. We all know how good Dre'Mont Jones is, and it's so surprising the Seahawks landed him with their history of never really spending big and just building through the draft. The next signing was Julian Love, who I think is a very underrated signing. Julian Love will play nickel, I believe, and backup safety, but besides that, he's an extremely solid player and also a great locker room guy. I know a lot of Giants fans loved him, so it's always nice to get a good cultural guy, just like how the Seahawks like him. The third player the Seahawks signed was Devin Bush, which I think at least by Steeler fans, he is heavily hated by them. Sure, Devin Bush has not been the same since he tore his ACL in 2020, but that does not mean he can't become the player he was before he did. I think Devin Bush's potential is out of this world, and I think he's going to be such a good matchup going along with Bobby Wagner. I really just think he needs a change of environment, and who's better when it comes to fixing players than Pete Carroll. The final signing the Seahawks have made already was bringing back Jarran Reed to help in the trenches. Again, it's no surprise the Seahawks need interior defensive linemen help badly, and again, I just think Jarran Reed is definitely a nice fit. I mean, he was on the team before. To end this video, I will be covering how the Seahawks roster should look entering this upcoming season, and I have to say it is absolutely stacked. To get a good look at this super team, the starting quarterback will obviously be Geno Smith. The running back will be Kenneth Walker. The receiver 1 will be DK Metcalf. The receiver 2 will be Tyler Lockett. The receiver 3 will be A.T. Perry. The tight end will be Noah Fant and Will Dissly. The left tackle will be Charles Cross. The left guard will be Damian Lewis. The center will be Ben Jones. The right guard will be Isaac Seumalo. And the right tackle will be Abraham Lucas. Just this offense alone has so much potential, it's unbelievable, and already on paper this offense is absolutely stacked and should be only getting better from last year. Now for the defense, which I think is equally as stacked as the offense and honestly even better as the potential again is through the roof. To start though, the starting edge will be Tyree Wilson. Then on the opposite side it will be Uchenna Nwosu. Then on the interior it will be Dre'Mont Jones and Bryan Bresee or Kalaja Kancey. Then right behind them at outside linebacker will be Jordan Brooks, and across from him will be Jamal Adams. And yes, I know what you may be thinking, doesn't he play safety? And that's one major but simple change I have the Seahawks making, and that's switching Jamal Adams to outside linebacker and having Ryan Neal play up top. Jamal Adams already plays similar to a linebacker, so it's not like this is anything outside of his comfort zone. But besides that, for inside linebacker, I have of course the new additions in Bobby Wagner and Devin Bush. Front 7 out of the way though, for DBs, starting at corner 1, I have Tariq Woolen. Then at corner 2, I have Kelee Ringo. And at the third/slot, I have either Kobe Bryant or Julian Love. Now for up top at safety, I have Quandre Diggs at free safety. Then Ryan Neal up there at strong safety. And now that's the defense, which is absolutely loaded, and in general this whole team is loaded, even including special teams. This Seahawks team is easily a Super Bowl contender and for many years to come. And now this was the perfect Seahawks offseason.